Hello, everyone. Welcome to StraightA. Dawson here.
Taylor here.
And we are here with our StraightA mock drafts going into the 2024 NFL draft. Really excited to be doing this. Draft is literally in a couple days, so we're going to be seeing all this kind of pan out soon. We didn't want to do drafts, coming leading up to, because I feel like those are overplayed, overdone. I see so many of those online, so we'll just do one quick, mock draft of the first round with me and Taylor. No one else wanted to join us, so we're going to be knocking this out ourselves. But before we get started in today's video, please leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and comment any suggestions for future videos below. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, so everyone, on screen you'll see, of course, me and Taylor, the awesome Dawson duel here, the duo here. I almost said duel. But on screen also we have this little website, pffnfl.com, kind of just giving a nice little overlay for all this our NFL draft needs. We're going to just go through the first round, kind of drafting and kind of picking out when we want to. We can do trades if we want. I do think there are going to be a couple trades, probably 2 trades in this NFL draft that I could see happening. I probably won't showcase them on screen, but we'll probably talk about some possible trades and who can move up and all that kind of good stuff. Especially for who knows especially in top 10, who knows who can move up there. Maybe they'll go for a quarterback, maybe they'll go for a high value pick in like Brock Bowers, who knows. So we'll just kind of see and kind of take the vibes as we go. Any initial thoughts from you, Taylor, before we get started?
I mean, like, honestly, like everyone's been saying, the draft is pretty stacked at a lot of different positions. I mean, quarterback, quarterback, the first 3 really, really solid QBs this year. Receiver, I think it's the most stacked it's ever been, honestly. Edge rushers look good, corners look good, and I think D-line is actually pretty decent this year, so.
Be very curious. I actually haven't looked too much on the defensive side of the ball, just because I've seen a lot of people say there's not going to be a lot of defensive players taken in the first round. Not as many as it could usually be. It's very offensive heavy in the first round. With a lot
The tackles are probably the best, from what I've seen.
I'd agree with that one. So we'll just see how it goes, and we'll kind of see where the conversation takes us. But Taylor, are we really going to overthink the first pick here, or are we
No.
It's
pretty easy.
We're gonna go out of nowhere and pick fucking Malik Neighbors to go first overall here?
No.
Yeah,
It's Caleb Williams.
I mean, I think it'd be one of the most obvious picks in the whole draft. I mean, Caleb Williams, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's going to pan out or not, the Bears are sold on him. They've prepared the Bears for him, and he's talented. From everything I've seen, he's a very talented quarterback. He's going to do well, I'm sure. I'm not too sure how well or to what extent, but I mean, he's going to go first overall. It's the most surefire thing in any NFL draft in a while.
Well, I mean, like you said, the Bears, they just went and got Keenan Allen this offseason. They've stacked up the offense a little bit. All they need is a rookie QB coming in who's ready to play, who's ready to start week 1. And I think Caleb Williams is that guy.
Mm-hmm. I agree. We won't overthink that one. But would you disagree with me, Taylor, in me saying I think the next 2 teams are going to pick QBs? And we can kind of talk about those 2 QBs, Drake May and Jaden Daniels.
I completely agree with that. Honestly.
What order do you think they are? Because I could see an argument being made both ways. Because I see the Commanders have had a very Drake May type quarterback for a little bit now, since RG3 probably was the last different quarterback from like a Drake May type scheme. And then the Patriots, of course, have been kind of in that more pocket QB era for a while with Mac Jones and Tom Brady and all that good stuff. So I could see them either switching up with new coaching staff, or they could go similar again with a very talented QB in Drake May. Again, it's one of those things you never know what you're going to get with a quarterback. But what are your thoughts with these 2?
So, honestly, I had Drake May going too. He's a little bit better than Jaden Daniels. I know Jaden Daniels came off one of the best seasons he's ever had in college football. He was very, very efficient passing, running. He won the Heisman. I just think Drake May's the better NFL QB type. Has a strong arm, has the ability to step out of the pocket, has the ability to stay in the pocket when needed. He makes smart reads and everything. And I think that's just what the Commanders really need right now, is a QB that they can start and is going to make the right decisions.
No, I think I would agree with that one too. I think I lean Drake May going to the Commanders first. Probably about a 65-35 split at this point. I think Jaden Daniels has too many worries going into the draft. I think a lot of his combine was good, but also
He's too small, in my opinion. I mean, he's 6'2" and like 190 something pounds, maybe around 200.
mhm.
He's just still very small.
So I think Jaden Daniels could go second, but I also just think Drake May's more of a surefire thing. That I think the Patriots would be happy
Yeah,
taking him. I think it's probably still the smartest move for both these teams, for either one of these teams to pick up either one of these QBs, because I mean, basically it goes Caleb Williams and you got pretty much Drake May and Jaden Daniels are pretty much neck and neck. It just depends on your
yeah,
style. Of course, probably Drake May I think has a little bit more talent than Jaden Daniels, but again, it's one of those things like you got to get your QB. You got to try out for one of these three guys. Any draft
yeah,
normally these three guys probably be easily number one pick. Jaden Daniels maybe be competing for it, but it's one of those things. LSU obviously is very good at producing quarterbacks too, so that's maybe where Jaden Daniels' stock can go up a little bit. So
yeah.
we'll see. And honestly, I know it's kind of a boring first four picks, but I mean that's really how most of the drafts are probably going to go. But I'm going to guess that you also want Marvin Harrison Jr. At the Cardinals because I mean it's the outside of quarterback, it's the most surefire talent in this whole draft by a
Yeah,
landslide.
pretty much.
I mean,
Uh,
such a talented wide receiver.
yeah. Honestly, Marvin Harrison. I know. So Malik Neighbors had a great pro day at LSU. I just like we talked about with Drake May and Jaden Daniels. It's very close between those two guys right there.
Hmm. No, I agree. I agree. At this point, this is the first time I could ever see a possible trade happen. Even then, I'm not too sure whether the Chargers are going to take a trade out of the top five. I think this is a valuable pick. I think there's still a lot of great talent because I mean they could use a little bit more help, or they could grab a great tight end, they grab a good wide receiver, especially since the wide receivers are gone. And that's kind of where I lean with the Chargers here. Malik Neighbors probably. I mean, he's probably the second best. I know there's been a little bit with Odunze lately with him kind of maybe sneaking into a second pick wide receiver, but I think it's still Neighbors by a decent bit. And I feel like the Chargers at this point made it clear they need
Honestly,
a wide receiver.
I honestly had Brock Bowers going. I mean,
Really?
they need to fill that tight end spot. Brock Bowers, honestly, he's the best tight end prospect I've seen in a while.
Hmm.
He can play like a wide receiver if he needs to. He can block. He can do just about everything on that offense that they need him to.
Hmm.
And I think he's the better pick for them right now.
Interesting, interesting. I don't know with how they have no wide receiver there. Like that's the only thing. The Chargers just have no one to throw the ball to. And sure, Brock Bowers can be someone to throw the ball to, but very few times do you ever get a tight end and expect them to get 1,000 yards. I mean, you shouldn't expect the tight end necessarily to get 1,000 yards unless you're scheming around a rookie, which is really really risky. Um, I mean, I could see it, but I mean, the one credit I'll give that the kind of pick mindset to it is that I don't see any other team up until maybe the Jets picking Brock Bowers. Like I don't see any other team really needing a tight end. The Giants don't. I mean, the Giants I guess could use a tight end, but they need so many other things before that. Titans don't really need a tight end. Falcons definitely don't need a tight end. Bears don't need a tight end. So at that point, that's where I'm more
Hmm.
convinced that somebody's going to trade up for Brock Bowers. Because
Yeah.
if he starts slipping to 7 or 8, I could see where maybe a Falcons kind of trade out. You know, actually,
Yeah.
that might be a prediction I make is that Falcons might trade out and someone might trade up to get him. But this is the first disagreement we have.
I
This
can
is
definitely see
good.
I could definitely see maybe if that happens, possibly the only team I could think of would either be, well, the only two I could really think about were the Dolphins and the Bengals. I mean, two playoff teams or almost playoff teams
Mhm.
needing just a little help in that area.
Yeah,
Because I
man,
mean, the Dolphins they have all the playmakers right there. Why not add another one?
this is true. This is true. I mean, those are probably two teams that probably need a tight end the most. You're probably right. It's a lot to give up though if they're going to 8. If they're going from what the
Yeah,
Bengals are 18, they go to 8. I mean, I guess it's not
21.
crazy.
Yeah.
10 picks aren't crazy. So I mean,
It, it's definitely happened before, but I don't know. It's just very risky, honestly.
for sure, especially for a tight end. We'll see, but I still think the Chargers keep this pick, and whether they pick up a Brock Bowers or Malik Neighbors, I mean, both are going to help out in the offensive scheme. I personally believe it's Neighbors, but Brock Bowers is not an awful pick for that either. So I mean, I agree. By the way, on screen we're going to be showcasing just the ones I have if maybe at the end of the day, if Taylor wants to send me like a screenshot of like his whole mock draft, we'll put that on screen too. Or we'll figure that out if we need to. But we're just kind of conversation based, so nothing too
Yeah.
extreme. Giants here. Now this one is also very difficult because I could see them. I know. We kind of talked a little bit about this before. I could really see them picking up Joe Alt, but I do think they have probably a lot more.
Ooh.
I think they do have a couple more concerns to reach out for. And honestly, I don't even see them picking up a receiver. I thought about the receivers. I thought about the offensive line. I think they just need to go DB. I think they need the. I think their defense is.
I didn't even think about that. Wow.
I mean, their defense is suffered last year. It suffered the last couple of years. They don't really have a defining guy.
Yeah.
At 6, it's a good spot to pick up somebody like that. At this point, you lost Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. Unless you wanted to go ahead and take Adunze, who I think is also great talent. You don't need a tight end necessarily, especially with the needs you have. Joe Alt's great, but again, your O-line's fine. It's not like bad. It's just fine. But your DBs, your defense,
Definitely not
needs a lot of help. What you said?
Yeah. It's definitely not like the Titans or the Panthers O-lines where it's Swiss cheese practically.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and I could see them picking up pretty much any of these the corners. Of course, I'm going to be. This is where my my more casual audience brain comes into play because I don't know as much about these defensive players. From everything I've seen, I believe Dejan is probably the best corner in the draft, but Mitchell doesn't seem too far behind him. Kind of like in a similar, like maybe a Dunze Malik Neighbors comparison, more so than any other team is how I've seen that. But
Honestly, the 5 corners that I looked at, they're really it's very close to who's going to be number 1. Now, I do think Kool-Aid McKinstry definitely not number 1. He just doesn't have the athleticism to go top 10.
mm-hmm.
And for me, the top 4 is between Terrion Arnold, Nate Wiggins, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think Nate Wiggins has the most athleticism to take top 10.
Dang. Okay. Fair. Okay. Respect that. Respect that pick a lot.
I mean, he's got that 4.2 speed. He's a playmaker.
So who was your original pick? Of course, you said you were surprised by a DB.
My original pick was Neighbors. Malik Neighbors.
Fair, because you had
I had him going receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stray differently here. I think this is as the draft goes forward, we're just going to realize how many players we're just going to have in little slightly different spots. I think I'm going to go corner. I'm going to go DeJean just again because I don't know much about it. I'm going to trust the kind of ADP and everything I've seen from everybody. I know some athleticism has gotten people very high, but I also don't think that a top 10 pick is I don't know, very possible. Or it's very hard to get a top 10 pick purely based on athleticism, and I think just either way, I think the Giants surprise people here and go corner. And here we go. You want to lead off with your Titans here?
Joe Alt. Simple and easy right there. There's no other question. I mean, that left tackle spot has been hell the past couple years. Dennis Daly. I don't even want to talk about that. Andre Dillard last year. That dude gave up. I think he tied with Dennis Daly and had 12 sacks. Or he gave up 12 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I see it, the Titans go and get them a franchise left tackle for the next 10 years. And Joe Alt, he's got the build for it. He's 6'7", 325, I believe. He's ready. He's going to be a day 1 starter.
I mean, in fairness, it's probably if he's still on the board, it's the smartest pick for him. Just with all the talent that's still up here, they don't really need to work on their defense. There's no desperate need at receiver. There's no desperate need at tight end. I mean, Joe Alt's the smartest pick here.
There's no need at corner, definitely.
Yeah, definitely not getting out the corner. And this is how it kind of pans out roughly, and you can kind of change DeJean, but of course I think Neighbors still be up there. I mean, Joe Alt's probably still going to be left on the board just because everybody needs such other key pieces that I think the Titans are in a good position to get a nice piece that they can just kind of passively support rather than just be a splashy, Brock Bowers or Romeo Dunze pick.
Yeah.
This is going to be my first hot take, probably not hot take, but like a more risky take, I think. Maybe the Giants one was a little bit out of the ballpark, but I think the Falcons are going to trade out. I think Falcons will probably trade down, get a little bit more draft capital. They have a great team. they really don't need much. I mean, sure you can say their defense
Yeah.
needs a little bit more, but like at this point
Yeah.
you're looking at
Because
what are you saying?
uh, you were talking about they need a little work on the defense, and that's kind of where I went for them. I went Jazon Newton, the D lineman out of Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
real good player. Uh, honestly, they could really use some help on their D line,
Mm-hmm.
boost that up a little bit.
This is true. Actually, you kind of convinced me a
So
little bit that the D line doesn't actually have that much of a depth in the first round. So maybe they do decide to pick up somebody for the D line that they can boost up their defense. I mean, they don't need to work on the offense at all. I mean, their corners. I think their corners are good. I don't know what or their DBs are good. I should say not necessarily their corners. So you know what? I might lean here with you and go Newton just for because I'm not going to plan on doing trades on here. But I do think the Falcons will trade back. I still do think that, but
I could see that honestly.
I'm buying into Newton a little bit. I could see a Newton pickup happening here. So I'll kind of side with you on this one. Um, but I could see them going at maybe the 16th spot. Maybe someone like the uh, Seahawks. Maybe like the Bengals. Bengals. We talked about the Bengals for Brock Bowers. Dolphins for Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Something like that. They could probably go back up 10 spots and still get a couple good pieces.
Yeah.
We got back to the Bears, and I think some people have them trading this back, but they really don't have much draft capital. I think they want to go ahead and just make sure they go all in for this draft. Um, I mean, they could go in so many different directions. I mean, in my opinion, they probably take the other D lineman. That's kind of where my mindset was. They probably take Byron Murphy. Granted, their defense is really good. The more I think about it, but like they really don't need a receiver. They don't really need a D lineman. So maybe they do trade back. Do they really need anything? I don't know. Taylor, what's your thoughts?
I had them going Roma Dunze, get that third receiver.
Mm-hmm.
You can decide which one you want to put in the slot. Because, I mean, like you said, the defense is good. The O-line is, I mean, they don't really need to fill any holes on O-line right now.
Mm-hmm.
And might as well bolster up your receiving core and let Caleb Williams go all out.
I mean, that's true. That's true. I mean, what's the receiving core looking like? Like it's fucking DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, Keenan Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Past that, nothing really.
I mean,
Because Darnell Mooney went to the Falcons.
does Dunze feel like a wide receiver 3 though? Because I mean, that's what he would be in that system. That's two. I mean, Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are wide receiver 1s in a two in
Well,
playing through 2 spots.
I could see him moving. I could see him moving to 2, maybe mid-season, maybe off-season. Depends on if Keenan Allen really plans on being in the NFL for a couple more years.
I
Because
think
he's what, 31, 32?
yeah, he's getting up there. He's probably 31 this year, something like that. Because I think Mike Williams is slightly older than him, and he's like 32.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Because I mean, man, a Dunze going out of the top 10 would be kind of crazy, to be honest with you. And do I see the Jets picking him up? Maybe,
No.
probably. I mean, like if he was there, maybe. That's kind of how I'd lean. So I'll side with you here. We'll put Dunze up there because I could see the D lineman kind of falling a little bit more because the defensive side of the ball here early on is not very like great compared to a lot of the offensive talent. Then we get the
I think this is the first time you've ever sided with me multiple times.
I know, crazy to hear. For the Jets, obviously, as we get further in the draft, you're going to see so many. We're going to be like, there's so many different ways they can go because now talent are so stacked up and like so similar.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know why people aren't talking about if Brock Bowers falls this far, which I don't think that he will. I think somebody will trade up and get him. That the Jets don't pick him up. I don't really like their tight end. What they got? Freaking Conklin? Is that their tight end?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know why people aren't talking about him possibly going to the Jets. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and with a reliable tight end and a good receiver, like reliable, good receivers. I think it is a low key good pick for him. I do not think Brock Bowers would be at this point, but also don't see Brock Bowers going anytime soon. So at this point, this is where I'd put Brock Bowers. Is the Jets pick him up if there was no trades.
I think just the big problem is there's a hole at tackle for them right now because Mekhi Becton is still a free agent.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
And for me, I had them going Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. I mean, you could probably move him left tackle, right tackle,
Mm-hmm.
whichever side you want him to play on, and he should be good. Now his passing, or yeah, his pass blocking's not the greatest, but his run blocking is really great.
Mm-hmm.
So if you run Brees Hall behind him, I mean, there's just many ways that they could go.
This is true. I mean, it kind of leans into the sport of like, are you going to go in on Aaron Rodgers? I mean, if you think about it, I mean, Aaron Rodgers still needs something, and granted, he probably needs more protection. So actually, that's where I'm kind of again conceding a little bit of ground. I'm like, man, maybe you're right. I just don't. Again, if in this mock draft, where does Brock Bowers go? Because he doesn't fall to 18. I'll tell you that he doesn't fall to 18 at all. I mean,
Yeah.
do the Vikings pick him up? I mean, dude, like in a world where Brock
Mm.
Bowers is still on the board at this point, you don't think the Jets pick him up? You don't think that the Jets are like, Brock Bowers probably one of the best tight end prospects in a while? Like,
At that point, I could see it being between Bowers and Fashanu,
mm,
just because there's two star-studded players, and you just got and that front office just has to decide which way do we want to go here.
mm, that's fair. And I definitely don't. I think the Vikings again are one of those teams that need too many needs. Where I'm looking ahead, I'm like, I don't think they're going to pick up a tight end if Brock Bowers is there. I think they need to pick up other
Yeah,
stuff. I
they
mean,
got the Vikings. They got T.J. Hawkinson. They don't really need a tight end.
oh yeah, sure. I didn't think about that. I was kind of just looking at the needs. I forgot that T.J. Hawkinson's there, so like I don't know why it's saying tight end here. Um, so yeah, I'm going to go Brock Bowers here, but I also get it if they go tackle, but because I don't think Brock Bowers necessarily be on the board past top 10. There's no way he does not go top 10.
Here's where one of my hot takes comes in here.
I think that I mean,
I don't believe
good.
I don't believe they're gonna trade up and take J.J. McCarthy. In my mind, the way I see it is that they just keep that pick and they don't go quarterback this year. J.J. McCarthy is not a first round quarterback, in my opinion.
Who, where are the who's the Vikings quarterback right now? I actually don't know this on top of my head.
Sam Darnold.
I mean, that's kind of what's weird about picking 11 and 12 is that now the Vikings and Broncos are in a weird spot where they technically have a quarterback. They have a quarterback.
Hey, Zach Wilson is a damn good quarterback.
I'm more happy about the Zach Wilson trade than a lot of other Broncos fans. I'm not happy as in like I'm excited for it, but I'm more happy as in I don't hate it. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't expect us to do much anyway, so let Zach Wilson cook a little bit, I guess, for a year, see what he's got. I believe in him, so I'm going to bite the bullet and say, you know what, put my money where my mouth is. But man, you're kind of right. This QB draft after, this is the first time another QB probably other than the first three go, and that's J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix. And your thoughts about J.J. McCarthy is, I feel like it's one of those things where I think that whether he's a first round talent or not, I feel like it's the mindset of, do we need a quarterback and do we think J.J. McCarthy's the best pick? Not so as much as he's qualified to be at this pick. I think I'm going to lean to agree with you that I think there's going to be one more QB go off the board, and I think it's probably going to be Bo Nix. In a smart world, it's Bo Nix. In a dumb world, it's J.J. McCarthy. I don't like J.J. McCarthy at all. I like Bo Nix pretty well. Michael Penix, I think, has talent, but I think it's more like a Will Levis type second round pick-ish.
Yeah. See, I just think J.J. McCarthy is Stetson Bennett, practically.
Mm-hmm.
Had all this talent around him, and he kind of got carried.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way that I see it. I mean, and you could say that about a bunch of other guys in this draft or even quarterbacks from earlier drafts.
Mm.
But I don't know. That's just the way that I'm seeing it.
So if not QB, where do they go?
I had him go in D-line and take Byron Murphy, the second best D lineman, off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Bolster the D-line.
Mm-hmm.
Let Sam Darnold cook for a year. And then you got Shadur Sanders next year, possibly. I don't know who else. Quinn Ewers maybe.
Mm-hmm. I'll lean with you here on Byron Murphy because I'm not really anywhere with this one. I don't believe the Vikings will pick a QB. I think you're right. I think the Broncos. I'm more up in the air now. I think, and we'll talk about the Broncos here in a minute. I won't get on a tangent just now. But I think you're right. I think that they go something else. I think they've already have a big hole in defense with Daniel Hunter gone. I think their DBs are weaker too, but I think this is probably more talented to get from a D lineman at this point than a corner. So I'm gonna agree with you and go Byron Murphy. Um, going to the Broncos, and here's a quick minute take for the Broncos here. Again, the Zach Wilson thing, I don't know if it's going to impact their thoughts going into the draft, whether they're going to get QB or not. And honestly, I don't even know what QB they would really want. I don't know what Sean Payton's really looking for. It's probably not Michael Penix is my initial guess. It's probably a Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy type quarterback that he wants if he does pick up one in the draft. I'm going to lean that I want Bo Nix better than J.J. McCarthy. I know some people can say they swap back and forth. Maybe some people like Michael Penix. Michael Penix probably is really explosive and fun, but I don't know how well he'll pan out in the long run. So kind of weighing those options, I could see and wouldn't be mad about a QB pickup here, but I'm also not going to be mad if we don't pick up a QB here because at this point we lost so much talent at wide receiver, at O-line, at D-line. We've lost so much talent over the last couple of years that we really kind of need something. We, especially our DBs. Our DBs kind of suck now, so we could get a lot of different things here. I'm going to go ahead and say that my leaning is that they're going to pick up Bo Nix. That's my prediction. My thought process at this moment, but it swaps back and forth. Because looking at other talent, is there anything I really want them to pick up? Again, tackles are a need, but I don't think they're that bad. Corners, again, I don't know if the talent's there for us to say, you know what, the 12th pick for a corner at this point's worth it, more than a safety later on. Edge, you could say we could pick up Fanatu and Latu or someone like that. I think that's probably my second favorite pick. Is that I think Troy Fanatu, if he's still up there, which again we talked about. Him possibly going before. He's probably my second favorite pick for the Broncos, or at least an edge after the QB position. What are your thoughts, Taylor, outside looking in?
So I actually had him going corner here. I had them taking Nate Wiggins, and I know we talked about the 4.2 speed not going in the top 10 because it's very risky. Well, now we're out of the top 10. We're leaning towards the middle rounds, and the way I see it, Broncos could take a pretty good risk here. I feel like it's a good risk to take and get that 4.2 speed corner, put him next to the man, the myth, the legend, Patrick Surtain, and see where this goes, honestly. It could go a Devin Witherspoon. What's the other dude's name? I can't think of it.
Fuck, you caught me in a bad spot here.
It's on the top of it. It could go that way, honestly, and I feel like that defense could do pretty well. I know the safeties are a little rough right now, a little bit, but I mean they can fix that. But I just think this is I think this could be a pretty good risk to take here.
That's fair. Actually, you kind of talked me out of the QB. Again, I've been going back and forth. You kind of talked me out of the QB situation because actually looking ahead, I think the Raiders are going to take a QB. I think they're probably a more surefire team taking a QB than the Broncos. I still think they go defense. I just don't know if the cornerback talent here is worth a first rounder. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick Fanatu here at this pick. Going into the Raiders now, though, I'm more of the mindset now of them getting a quarterback: J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix. There's someone who I could see falling in a trap with J.J. McCarthy, but I'm going to pick Bo Nix just because I do think he's the fourth guy in the draft, personally. Where do you think the Raiders kind of land? Because I know you don't have another QB going in this whole first round.
I kind of went off their team needs, and I kind of picked edge. You can, I had him taking Latu from UCLA because he can play DN, outside linebacker. He can really do whatever they want, and put him and Tyree Wilson together. I think, him and Max Crosby, and Tyree Wilson, they could tear it up. The three of them, and I also just realized they have Christian Wilkins there too. That defense would be scary. Honestly, now that I think about that, now that it hit me, that defense could be scary.
No, it's fair. That's fair.
Poor Broncos.
Yeah, poor Broncos. Yeah, honestly, God, playing with them 2 times a year. I think the Raiders need to take a chance at QB. They've kind of also been in limbo. The Broncos have too, but at this point, honestly, if the Broncos didn't pick up Zach Wilson, I wouldn't lean against a QB at this point. But I'm okay with them not going for a surefire quarterback and seeing if Zach Wilson pans out. Great, that means we can rely on Zach Wilson. If not, then you can go early on. But I'm going to go Bo Nix here because I do think Bo Nix is going to go in the first round one way or the other. But you can kind of maybe switch up these two picks for maybe the Broncos and the Raiders. I'm okay with that. Saints, man, Saints need some. I mean, I think this does not show that they have more needs than that on surface value. They probably go.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, do they go an edge? Turner, Latu are still on the board for me. So I mean, like, I'm okay with anything. I'm not going to be going to too much detail about this, but probably Latu is what I'm leaning here. Best player available type deal.
I'm leaning more towards J.C. Latham from Bama.
Interesting.
He's the most athletic tackle that I've seen this year, and honestly, their O-line's not that great.
Mm-hmm.
You got Derek Carr behind him. There's no need to take a quarterback.
Agreed.
And honestly, at this point where they're at, just focus on the O-line, get another tackle, and then the next round you can figure everything else out. But surefire, take another tackle, bolster the O-line.
No, that's fair. I can see him going multiple ways. I'm gonna go Latu here, but I mean the Saints don't move me at all. Next couple honestly can feel like quick fire rounds because I mean the Colts don't have many needs. I can see them trading back, but honestly, them with how deep the cornerbacks are, like you said, I think at least a third or a fourth one is gonna drop down to this one. In this case, I'm gonna pick Mitchell, but Arnold could definitely be up there. You can go Wiggins, depending on who's left, but I just think they'd probably take a DB. They don't really need a wide receiver. What about you?
Sorry, I messed that up. I had the Colts taking a corner.
Yep.
Anyways.
Yeah. So we're kind of in agreement.
And I had him taking. I went Cooper DeJean here.
Fair.
I had him falling a little bit farther. I had him below Nate Wiggins, honestly. Pretty much because of he's coming off that ACL injury.
That's valid. The Seahawks, they're a team that needs a couple different things. I'm gonna lean edge here for them because it's got a decent deep class here in the middle round. I'm gonna go Turner again. You can probably talk me in the verse or something like that, but Turner I think is still far and better for that.
Well, I don't have to say anything because that's what my pick was.
Perfect. Look at that. And these next couple teams, like, go ahead. What were you saying?
Jags. I had him taking corner. I had Terry and Arnold.
I think it's one of those best players moments for him.
Yeah. And in my mind, he's probably the best player that they're gonna see.
No, I agree. I agree with you fully. I got nothing else to say here. In terms of Bengals, they got to go offensive lineman. I know they've been going offensive lineman for like the free agency for last year, but they have no surefire offensive lineman. They just need to stack and say, okay, one of these guys got to pan out. Two of these guys have to pan out for tackle. Maybe you already have a decent guard. Like, just figure it out. Go with the best player available. Go with Fuaga. I don't know. Whoever probably the best one here is for them. That's what they need. The Bengals, that's what they need. Just go for it. Don't question it. It could be one of those offensive linemen. I'm okay with any of them, but just go for somebody that's tackle.
Yeah, that's exactly who I had.
Look at how it's all lining up.
Honestly,
we're tracing back now.
Yeah. But the Rams, I had Fatanu falling back a little bit, going to the Rams. They need O-line badly. That team is in shambles, especially. I mean, I could see them possibly taking Jared Verse, get that Aaron Donald replacement. I mean, he's nowhere near Aaron Donald, but it's a start somewhere.
I think.
But
I'm going to agree with you, and they go tackle. Obviously, I have different people on the board. I'm going to go for Shanu, of course, here. But I agree with you. They need to go offensive lineman. again, you don't have. I don't think they replaced Aaron Donald in this draft. I think their defense does need more help. But I mean, looking at the players available, if you're looking down a little bit, the talent that you're looking for next year, you got to go tackle probably because you don't need a wide receiver, you don't need a running back, you don't need much on the offensive line outside of tackle. Um, Corner, I mean, sure. I guess you could always use secondary help. I think every team in this fucking league could use secondary help. Um, but
Yeah.
I mean, offensive lineman's the most obvious pick here. Jared Verse is not going to be the replacement you want for Aaron Donald. So just again, go tackle and don't overthink it. Steelers. Man, what do we say about the Steelers? It,
I said corner.
that's probably the
Pair up
smartest.
two young corners together. I had him taking Quinyon Mitchell. And I mean, they could go a lot of different ways at corner.
Mhm.
There's a couple really good guys in the late first round area. Because I know, I mean, I can see that Kool-Aid's up on your board right now. I see Nate Wiggins on your board.
Yeah, I mean, is it bad? I kind of want to say they pick up Adonai Mitchell. It's just an instinct thing. I think I agree with you that they're probably going to go corner. Um, in this case, they probably just go pick Nick Wiggins again. They need a corner probably more than the receiver. I know they got rid of Deontay Johnson, but I mean they're fine at wide receiver. They got reliable guys there. It's just not anything splashy. Which Steelers aren't a splashy team, so they probably don't overthink it. Pick up a
Yeah.
good need, Nate Wiggins or somebody else. A lot of good cornerback talent. So I agree, corner of some sort is going to be on the board. Meanwhile, you got the Dolphins. I think I don't think there's much defensive help here in the first round, so I don't think they go defensive at all. I mean, you could argue they go somewhere in the secondary, but I think their secondary is fine. I don't think they need to worry about it. They probably just go O lineman, and this O lineman can go from tackle to guard to whoever to center. I think their O linemen have been pretty flexible this whole season. Again, J.C. Latham, I think it's kind of a boring pick because it's the highest pick on the board. It's probably it's the go-to, and tackles are so deep. It's just that why not pick a tackle when you can? Type deal for me. Yeah, go ahead.
I had Mims because I mean he was the only tackle on my board
Mhm.
that seemed the best in my opinion.
Mhm.
But yeah, I really don't know because their O line's not that great. You might as well for sure bolster the O line, get a tackle.
Mhm.
You could say that for a lot of teams right now.
Mhm.
Get a tackle. But I think it's just a smart choice here.
For sure, for sure. You got the Eagles next. This is a team that I think has already boosted their team so much they could just go. I think this is a team that could potentially just trade back and just get a couple more things, not like go for anything too splashy at 22. They don't need much, but if they're going to go something, it's going to be corner. And the last corner I got is Kool-Aid. Again, I think once you get to Kool-Aid, I think it's kind of a drop off from corners. And I even think Kool-Aid's probably in the outer realm of the top corners, probably the clear worst one to me. Alabama, I know it's controversial opinion. Sorry, Alabama fans. Sorry, Ben. But I mean, they don't really need much else at all. So I mean, if they do stick here, I'm gonna say they go corner if a corner's on the board. If not, then gosh, I don't even know what they pick up. They don't really need edge. They don't need wide receiver. They don't need tackle. I mean, I don't really know what else they get other than just dropping back. Maybe Peyton Wilson, reach for him a little bit, but I'm gonna go Kool-Aid.
I went Jared Verse. Because I mean, I really don't know because that defense is really good, and I don't know if taking a corner for them is the right move. Because I mean, who did they lose this year at corner?
Gosh, we literally just did this free agency
Oh,
stuff.
because
But their secondary's never been their strength. It's always been their D line.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, maybe it's in one of those cases where the Eagles have good depth, but they don't have good talent. Maybe
Yeah.
So maybe it's one of those deals. That's why I kind of think they're going to drop back. I don't think they need any of this. I think their DB is the best spot they have at this point. So I'm not going to hate someone saying they don't need a DB because I don't necessarily think they need a DB. The only thing that they maybe could use is a little bit more linebacker help. But again, I don't think there's any linebacker talent in the first round worth picking. I don't think Peyton Wilson is worth a first round, but he's probably going to go in the first round.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I could see them possibly moving Jared Verse around. He is an edge. He's about 260, I think, so he could probably play the the outside linebacker spot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I've said about a lot of teams, there's many options they could do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Move him around wherever they really need him.
That's fair. It's completely fair. I think honestly, it's probably more controversial opinion for me saying that he's going to go a little bit later. I think actually Jared Verse probably going to go at 24 to the Cowboys, but we'll get to that here in a minute. That was going to be a controversial thing. Um, Otherwise, Vikings here. I mean, they're going to just at this point probably pick best player available. They don't need at this point. I think I had them going a edge earlier, so I mean, they're not going to pick up Verse in my opinion here. They don't really need a tackle. They need more guards, and I think Mims is not someone who can play guard. Controversial enough. So I mean, what do they really go here? They probably go down and maybe they do pick up a receiver. Looking at the talent on the board, what do you have for the Vikings?
I said I went with Kool-Aid
Fair.
because their DBs are not good. Their DBs suck. So I could see them getting Kool-Aid, working with him a little bit, and maybe getting him maybe an outside corner.
Mm-hmm. You know, the more I'm looking at this, I think they should go Graham Barton. For the record, I think they should go Graham Barton at this point versus Marvin Mims versus Mims. But they're probably going to go Mims if they're going this direction. Is what I'm kind of referring to. Just because I think they need to swap up their O-line a little bit. It's best player available type deal. I don't see them dropping back, so I'm just going to say they take Mims just because it's a Georgia linebacker or Georgia lineman. Can never go wrong, I guess, with anybody on the line for Georgia, in my opinion. So, now I talked a little bit about the Cowboys for me. What do you think about the Cowboys at 24? They've done pretty much nothing in the offseason, so what do you feel like they need the most?
Get another receiver, Adonai Mitchell.
Really? Interesting.
He's got the speed. He's got the size.
Mm-hmm.
You could pair him up with CeeDee Lamb, and they could go off.
I think in a world where Verse isn't on the board, 100% agree. I think if Verse is not on the board, I could see them going receiver. I could see that depth being built up better with CeeDee Lamb. I think they just have a reliable core right now. They don't need to go too fancy with it. Is there off? I mean, maybe it's their off. I mean, neither one of their offense or defense is the problem. I'll be honest with you. That's the problem with this. Their offense was doing amazing at one point. Their defense was lacking a little bit. Then their defense was doing awesome at one point. Their offense was lacking a little bit. You can go either way. I'm going to lean Verse here, but in a world that he's not there, 100% agree with you. Receiver is going to be the pickup there. I just think making such a scary defense for that team is going to be something so cool for them. And plus, they need to have in my mindset that they need to prepare for either CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons not being gone. Or being gone. I think there's a world that neither one of those players doesn't sign back, and in that world, it's one of those players you fill out. And maybe if it's CeeDee Lamb, you go the receiver definitely. If it's Micah Parsons, you go more Verse. Who knows? So,
yeah.
Packers, good old Packers. Probably go, man.
I had Tyler Guyton here at tackle.
Fair.
He's not David Bakatari, but it's a start somewhere.
I'm going to go Nubin. I'm going to go their safety route. I think that Nubin, can kind of sneak into that later 20 pick. I really didn't see him going too much into the first round. But I think he's probably the most talented safety by a long shot. I think the Packers need a safety. Or at least I shouldn't say necessarily safety, but they need more secondary help. Because obviously we've learned that even the most reliable talent on their team is not very reliable, and Nubin's the most talented. I think you don't overthink it. You go and pick up your safety.
Yeah.
Buccaneers is another interesting one. And honestly, I really thought that they weren't. I really thought they were going to go more offensive help here in terms of receiver. But honestly, they have so many other things on defense they need to bolster up. Their offense is kind of fine. The more I've talked myself into it, they really need a defensive help. But there's really, once you start reaching down here, you got a linebacker in Peyton Wilson. It's probably, this is if I was a Peyton Wilson lover in terms of like he was going to go in the first round, it's probably here. That's my opinion here. Is that Peyton Wilson, I don't think should go in the first round. Don't think he's talented enough to go in the first round, but he's probably the pick at this point. I'd be much more glad for them to pick up or reach for a corner at this point if the talented corners are all gone. What's your thought?
I went Chop Robinson here. Work on the edge rushers because Yeah, they don't really have a lot of edge rushers, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's really worth that. That I guess that has really been productive this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get Chop Robinson. He's got that uh, that just a little under 4.4 speed that's coming off the edge.
Mm-hmm.
I could possibly see him turning into Micah Parsons kind of because they ran the same 40. They both went to Penn State.
Mm-hmm. This is true. And you know what? In a world where you know what? I'm actually gonna agree. I'm just gonna agree with you and put Chop Robinson here because I do think I like that pick better. Any corners that you kind of convinced me in terms of the. I think he's a very talented edge. So I mean, if he's there, go for it. You don't really need a corner. It's just kind of a nice thing. I don't want to pick a linebacker at this point, but we'll go from there. Arizona Cardinals at 27. Of course, trading with Houston. Um, I mean, they already picked up their wide receiver guy. I mean, do they go double wide receiver? Honestly, they're a team that could. Honest to God, they really could.
Yeah.
But they probably need so much more help. Their center has been a problem for a hot minute now. Um,
Yeah.
they could go corner. I'm probably just going to go ahead and say they get Jackson Powers Johnson, one of the best centers in the draft. Not best, if not one of the best O linemen.
Yeah.
Outside of tackle, I should say. Um,
That was my thought. I mean, they haven't had a center in how long?
a few years now, probably since 2021, 2020,
And
2018, whatever.
yeah, and I mean it's a late first rounder. There's not much they can do with it. They see Jackson Powers Johnson on the board and they say, "Hello, come to Arizona."
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth. I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. I do think Peyton Wilson's going to go in the first round. I don't want him to, but I'm going to say the Bills pick him up if at this point they don't. If he's still there, he's talented. I think he's high enough prospects. But what do you think for the Bills?
I said Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay.
I mean, that receiver room is terrible.
This is
I'm
true.
just gonna put it straight forward. It's fucking bad.
This is true.
And I mean, I just think he has the abilities to. He's gonna get a decent amount of targets being in playing with Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Just his size, his speed. I mean, he's not as fast as all the others, but he's pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. No, very, very, very interesting pick. Lions. They probably such a deep wide receiver class. They just don't need one. But honestly, I could see him picking up a wide receiver just to add to the team. I think they should pick corner if there's a good corner on the board. But I mean, at this point, I don't think there's a first round worth of corner. Granted, it's a pick 29, so take that as you will. I'm just gonna go a little bit risky. If Mitchell's still on the board, I think it's the best player available for them, and they should go it. They don't necessarily need it, but why not pick up one of the best picks on the board?
I went Graham Barton. I know it shows he's a tackle, but I feel like he's one of the guys you can move around, move him to guard,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much wherever he needs to be at, solidify the line, and then make a run for the playoffs, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's kind of dwindling down with these really good teams because it's really hard to figure out what's really bad.
Mm-hmm. I do agree with you for that for the exact reason that Graham Barton's either going to go pick 30 or 31. I don't think he's going to go the Lions, but I think he's going to go either Ravens or 49ers purely because Barton is one of the most flexible tackles in terms of where he can be on the line. I don't think he's the most talented. I will say that right now. I don't think he's the most talented tackle or O lineman in this draft by a decent margin, but he's very flexible. He's very multiverse. And I could see either the Ravens or the 49ers picking him up. I think the Ravens probably want to add more power in terms of the offensive weapons at this point. They're a little bit they're getting better. They're improving it day in day out, but I think they just need to finally add more and just keep on bolstering it the best they can because Lamar Jackson's so talented, but he's got to have a consistent wide receiver room instead of just filtering in wide receiver threes. That we've been seeing, but I could see the Ravens if they want to go Derrick Henry focus, which I don't think they do. They'll go Graham Barton.
Yeah. I went Troy Franklin. He could be one of those guys that he's got speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and well, yeah. I mean, I could see him playing on the outside. I mean, you got Zay Flowers in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much solidified himself as a slot player last year.
Mm-hmm. Fair, fair.
I mean, I it's, I mean that's just the way I see it because there's no other big players on the board, and I don't know. It just kind of dwindles. It's really hard to pick this late with these kind of players because that late and you're taking a risk on them in the first round.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. Um, Guess just we'll go ahead and round it out here real quick. Graham Barton, I think I've already talked about. He's going to go either 30 or 31. I don't think he's going to escape that. And a hot take here, we'll kind of talk about the 49ers and Chiefs together here. I think the Chiefs have to go wide receiver after what happened with Rashee Rice. I think he's still anticipated to play, but I feel like they got to. I know they got Marquise Brown, they got Rashee Rice, they got Travis Kelce, but like they don't need help anywhere else. They don't. They seriously don't. Maybe you can go corner and replace Jarius Sneed, but like really, there's not much options there at this point in this late in the draft. You could go reach a little bit and go more D lineman, maybe get an edge like Isaac and maybe put him around, move around your defense a little bit. I feel like they got to go wide receiver just purely for the case of they need a better depth chart for their wide receivers anyway. So even if Rashee Rice plays, pick up a wide receiver that adds to the depth chart and go from there. Oh, whoops. Probably should have kept your stuff there, but what do you think for the 49ers and Chiefs?
Sorry. I think the Niners could take a corner here. The corner out of Michigan, Mike Sing, I don't know how to say that dude's last name.
Fair.
But I think honestly that team's so stacked you can plug him in there, and he could probably make a name for himself year one. I don't know how well their corners are.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Chiefs, I had them taking tackle out of Arizona, Jordan Morgan.
Sure.
I mean, O-line's not really their strong suit, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that team's so stacked as well that it's just the safest option.
For sure. No, I get it. Well, that's kind of our mock draft for round one of the 2024 draft. We'll be streaming it here coming this Thursday. Very excited about that. We might start 30 minutes early and then watch the whole draft. We'll do it on multi-platforms. I know Taylor said he might join us a little bit later on. Trayton might be able to join us, but it'll mostly just be me kind of talking about things that happen going on and kind of analyzing the picks as they go. Otherwise, on screen now, I'll put Taylor's pick because I think at this point, if you send me that image, either through phone or whatever, I'll put it up on the screen of what Taylor's mock draft would be for this first round. And we'll see who works out better, I guess. I guess we can kind of see who lines up better. But it was kind of a little fun conversation to have. Took about an hour and just talk about the first round. Any final thoughts here, Taylor?
Wow. Not really. I mean, I feel like I've said this a lot. This class is really good. There's just a lot of guys that can go a lot of different ways, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Awesome. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like down below, comment any suggestions for the channel below, and also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We'll be seeing y'all later. StraightA, out of here. See you guys.